quiet seaside town, an evil laid to rest centuries ago, has risen. An abandoned fortress deep in the swamp holds a secret that could save the village or destroy it. Now, a band of adventurers sets out to dig up the wounds of the past and bring the light of day to the roots of ruin. This is Tabletop Gold.
Hello and welcome to Tabletop Gold, The Roots of Ruin, episode 132. My name is Lars Casteen. Welcome back for a new year. It's a brand new year, 2024. We got some big announcement coming up. But before we get to that, we're going to get to this. Year. Saying hello, Happy New Year. Saying hello to everybody, including Armet Humphreys.
Hello, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Good New Year time, New Year, whatever. David, the Tin Man Chernicoff is here.
Good that time, Lars.
Good that time. Zoe Chernicoff is here.
Auld Lang Syne.
That's the famous song that we sang a week ago. Yeah. And
Old Lang Syne, more likely. Am I right? Wow, I've been thinking about that for weeks.
Wow. Robin Lange is here.
Robin Lang Syne. Happy New Year. Welcome back, y'all.
Welcome back. We've got a big announcement. I've already teased that. We've been off for a couple of weeks. I hope that people enjoyed their time off. I hope the audience enjoyed 2 weeks off of the responsibility of listening to this podcast every week, because we got some big things to talk about today. But before we do that, there's a topic that I would like to discuss that's maybe slightly less, could be more important depending on the person who's listening to this. I've been going to the grocery store a lot lately. And I recently started buying a brand of bread called Dave's Killer Bread. Do y'all know this thing?
Yeah. I've seen it in the stores, yes.
It's on the approved list for both of our children, which, let me tell you, is an unusual status to have.
Yeah. So you guys are so the Chernicoff household is a Dave's Killer Bread house. Is that what I'm being led to believe?
Yep.
Not exclusively, but often you will find Dave's Killer Bread dwindling in the fridge.
Okay. I want to talk about this guy. If you haven't seen Dave's Killer Bread, first off, it's a thing. It's a bread, right? You're familiar with bread. It's like it comes in a bag and you buy it and you eat it and then you're done.
Yep.
Rings a bell, I guess.
Tracks.
The logo for Dave's Killer Bread really jumped out at me. One, it just says Dave's Bread on it, and they've written the word killer to make it cooler, right? And there's a picture of who I assume is Dave himself on it. And I'm wondering if anybody who has seen this bread has the same reaction that I am having. Dave of Dave's Killer Bread is like a very handsome gentleman with a thick, resplendent mustache and long, beautiful hair.
He's beautiful.
He's beautiful. On top of that, they've made him wear a skin-tight red t-shirt that shows off an enormous arm. He has huge bulging biceps. Like already it's like his killer bread, and he has to like look awesome in his logo with his huge muscles and stuff. And on top of that, he's shredding on an electric guitar. And I was wondering if anybody has had this reaction.
I had never noticed
You've
that.
never noticed that Dave is like shredding on the bread
guitar
guy?
is like behind. For people who haven't seen this, it says Dave's
behind
Killer
the
Bread,
lettering.
like over much of the guitar. It's not like he's got a huge guitar out and we just missed it. I mean, it's
a pretty big guitar.
Sure.
Now that you mention it, it's fairly prominent. But no, I'd only clocked him as the part of him that's to the left of the letters, and then the letters. I never noticed that he goes behind the letters and then he continues up to the. I hadn't seen it.
So you haven't been as distracted as I have been by like the raw animal sexuality that this guitar sandwich man.
He's the one that the
underwear
underwear is for.
He's the one that the underwear is for?
all the masculine underwear ads.
Oh, yeah.
Like
All the Saks
Dave
underwear.
is their
Hypersexual.
target audience. Yeah.
Lars, I have been incredibly distracted by his masculine energy because I find him to look like a perfect combination of the goalkeeper for the 1990s English national soccer team in Manchester United, David Seaman,
Oh,
and the Jolly Green Giant. And I've been just absolutely obsessed with
I
this
keep
thought for
thinking-
like a year.
I keep like getting Ron Swanson vibes from him,
Absolutely.
but it's definitely not. Like the more
He's
you describe
friendlier.
it, though,
Yeah.
it's like if Ron Swanson really liked smoothies and went to the gym.
There's like a touch of Gallagher.
He's
Yeah,
like Gallagher,
totally. I
Gallagher,
totally see
and
Gallagher, yeah.
Gallagher and Ron Swanson, or Gallagher and the Jolly Green Giant. I can get there.
I want to know what this guy looks like in real life. In my mind, Dave is just like a normal dude with a normal haircut who just like wears a suit to work and stuff.
Yeah.
It actually does look like him.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, I
Does
did
he look
some
really cool?
research.
Is he like a strong, cool man?
He's got a pretty intense haircut.
Okay.
The Wikipedia entry for this guy is a journey, and I think people should just go find out for themselves.
He does not look great in his mugshot, I will say.
Well, who does?
Well, there was that one guy who got modeling contracts based on his mugshot.
That's true.
Did you
Yeah,
guys-
he's the
right?
one.
That dude did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a journey.
Yeah, he had, 2005. So he took over, he and his nephew took over his father's bakery in 2005 after serving 15 years in prison.
Oh. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up, and I wanted to mention how intimidated I was by Dave and his bread.
Do you like the bread? Is it good?
It's a little busy, much like the branding on the bread itself. I find that it is slightly overloaded with nuts and grains. It doesn't have the pillowy texture that I prefer. It's almost more of a savory cake than a bread, if I'm going to be totally honest about it.
Apparently his father his father's bakery, they were pioneers in experimenting with sprouted wheat breads.
I guess that's what it is.
It feels like a virtuous. Well, I can't eat it because I'm gluten intolerant, but it appears to me to be like on the virtuous side of bread, but like acceptably so, like edibly so.
Well, I'm glad we got to the bottom of this
Ezekiel.
bread situation. If you have any bread questions, go ahead and email them to us and we'll read them on the show, of course.
Or to Dave.
Or to Dave.
Just
Send them
check
to
the new
Dave.
bread questions channel in our Discord.
But
We got a food channel.
we do. We can talk about bread in our food channel in our Discord. But now I want to move on to what we're really here to talk about today. And that is that it is a new year and we have a big announcement. Are you ready? Is everybody ready? If you're listening
Ready.
to this on the subway
the edge of
or
my
in your
seat.
car, go ahead and say, yes, I am ready.
Actually, if you're in the car, you should pull over just for
Yes.
safety.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Just pause. Chris, I don't care if you're in the Whitestone right now. Pull over.
Wait, pause the car or pause the podcast?
No, pause
Either.
the car. Like, just
Pause the car,
Stop
okay.
the car.
Pause the road that's treadmilling by you.
Hit the brakes. Cause an accident.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the announcement. We are, as of today, if you're hearing this on the day when this launches, January 8th, 2024, we are launching a Patreon.
Woo! Give us your money.
We have a Patreon out now, starting today with all kinds of great premium shows. I want to talk about these premium shows that you can get if you support us and subscribe to the Patreon. We have a mix of programs that are great both for TTG beginners and for experts. What does that mean? It means that we have spoiler-free shows. If you're not caught up with our ongoing podcast program, and we have spoiler-filled shows that dig deeper into our show, in which we will talk about the things happening on our show, on our podcast, on this series, The Roots of Ruin, that you're listening to right now as you have stopped your car at the side of the road. Here's how it works. You can find the link at tabletopgold.com, or you can go straight to patreon.com/tabletopgold. Then you support us on Patreon, and you get access to these premium shows. It is that simple. I want to tell you, as you're heading over there, now that you have stopped your car, you're on the side of the road, you've pulled out your phone, You've got like popcorn butter all over your hands for some reason. You were eating popcorn on the way to work for whatever reason. No judgment.
I get it.
You're wiping your buttery hands off on your shirt as you're fumbling with your phone, right? And here's what you're going to find when you go to patreon.com/tabletopgold. If you are all caught up on our show and you want to dig deeper into the game side of things, we have got the Gold Mine, where we dig into our newest episodes and behind the scenes stories. We talk about GM choices, player choices, strategy, running the game, and so on. We have recorded something like 7 episodes of the Gold Mine already, and they are available for you to listen to right now, covering episodes 120 of The Roots of Ruin onwards. Then on the other side of the coin, if you are not caught up with our game, we have got specials that are focused on chat and fun times that feature absolutely no spoilers for our show. Coming up this month, we've got the first episode of a show called Film Debuff. It is our movie podcast. We've got an episode coming out this month where we review, we determine the fitness of the 2023 Dungeons & Dragons movie, the D&D Honor Among Thieves starring Chris Pine and others. If you want to hear that episode of Film Debuff, that's coming this month. We also have something called the Tier List Show, where we sort stupid things into tiers. There are a lot of tiers. Everyone's making tier lists on the internet these days. They've made all the important tier lists, and us included. And we are making tier lists of all of the stuff that nobody has yet had the guts to make tier lists of.
Which is truly the S tier airport.
We'll get ready for that one. But that's not what we have coming out this month, but maybe later. The special that we have coming out this month.
Enough on the Discord.
Oh, yes.
Spoiler alert, it's not in the US.
But you can hear the tier list show. We're covering dice. Is a D20 S tier? Is a D6 C tier? Is a D4 D4 tier? You got to listen to find out. Our goal with this Patreon is we're going to put something out every week, splitting the episodes between the stuff that digs deeper into the show, and then also with just fun spoiler-free shows about games, role-playing games, and other things that we're all interested in. We have a few tiers available that you can pledge to. For $5, you get audio of the premium shows. For $10, you get video, and it goes up from there with fun stuff added in as it goes higher. We are also looking at letting people spend really silly amounts of money for special custom one-offs. Zoe had an idea months ago that if you gave us $1,000, I would record a song for you. So we can do that too. That's just
I still
can and will.
I'll give you $1,000, Lars, to record a song for me.
Robin's taking the first slot of those.
Wow.
Wait, shit, fuck.
Robin is our first patron.
It's a popular tier. Get in now while you still can. The man only has so many hours to record songs for people. We've already got one slot filled. Now we're a QVC commercial. So
Is
That's
it sort of like wearing the band t-shirt to the show if you like subscribe on your own Patreon?
It is, and that's a cool thing to do. That's cool when you wear your own t-shirt.
I really like the idea that after a couple of years of this project, the main impact that it would have would be Lars recording songs for Robin, but that meaning that all of our taxes get slightly more complicated,
Right?
Yeah.
because Robin is paying our business for them.
It's okay. Lars can pay $1,000 and I'll make him some socks.
I'll pass on that. Okay, so this is all just
Make them big enough for you.
How many what's the exchange rate between socks and socks?
It's a one for
You know
one.
what? It probably takes. I bet it takes me longer to knit some socks than Lars to record a song.
Wow.
Oh,
yeah.
that's
You two should
probably
race.
not true, Robin.
I'm so curious now. We should time it.
$2,000 gets you a song from Lars and a pair of socks from Robin.
Yeah.
And they race. They tell you who finishes first.
Okay, I need to let the listener know. No, you got to go to the Patreon page to really understand what we are actually selling. Everything described on this podcast is just dramatization. But this Patreon that we are coming out with today, that is the best way to support the show. If you like what we do and you want us to do more of it, support us on the Patreon. Depending on how much support we get, that's going to decide if we're able to do more stuff like additional actual play shows and beyond. I have one more piece of information for everyone. We've got a giveaway. To celebrate the launch of our Patreon, we're doing a giveaway. Go to the Patreon page. You'll see a free post open to everyone, even if you're not surprised, even if you're not giving us a single red cent, and the instructions for how to enter are right there. The grand prize for this giveaway is you're going to get both the new Player Core and GM Core books for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. These are the remaster rule books. We'll keep the giveaway going for 2 weeks. The last day that we're accepting entries is January 22nd, 2024, and we'll pick someone at random to win both of these books, and then I'm going to mail them to you. So,
dang, I don't even have those yet.
well,
awesome.
enter the giveaway
Robin
after
is
I make
also
you a
going to
song.
be entering for.
I'm a listener, apparently.
So that's it. That's the whole spiel. Happy New Year, everybody. Patreon, new premium shows, audio, $5, video, $10, different tiers of support, a giveaway. Happy New Year.
Happy
Yay!
2024, everyone.
Happy
you are welcome.
2024.
And that's our show. See you next week.
No, we have other stuff to do. In fact, we have to right now get into it. Let's play our game. You've returned to the town of Otari after completing the mission to track down the Motley Man, the denizen of Lange who is tormenting the dreams of Doriana Menhemez, and send him back to the plane of nightmares and dreams from which he was summoned hundreds of years ago by the sorcerer Belcora Haravex. As you approach Doriana's home, the beautiful manor the Menhemez family has lived in for generations, questions remain. Has the curse upon her lifted? What has become of her hand, which had been largely sucked into the dreamlands during her many adventures with the Motley Man? And why is her father, Mayor Osif Menhemez, on the ground in front of you, crying? Like I mentioned, Mayor Menhemez is sobbing on the ground, and he remains there for what feels like a minute, until finally Emnala Menhemez, Doriana's mother, appears in the doorway. She sees the four of you standing on the far side of her husband. She looks at you. She says, "You've all done a kind thing. I knew you'd be coming around here after, suddenly, maybe an hour ago. I was sitting with Doriana, and she closed her eyes for a moment. And before her eyes closed, they were cloudy and unfocused, the way I've seen her so many times over these past few weeks. But when her eyes opened again, the clouds were gone. There was my girl again, my little girl, back within those eyes. I grabbed her by the face, held my nose up to hers, and the two of us just sobbed and laughed for what must have been minutes, so thank you." But Osif sputters to life. He looks up to you for the first time. He says, "Yes, thank you. I'm sorry. I don't have any words at the moment." And Emnala looks at you and says, "He loves talking, except for when it's time to say anything that matters." And Osif looks back
But
and
a bum.
says, "Emnala, you're cruel." Emnala motions to you and she says, "Doriana's inside washing up. You're free to come in. We've got snooks and some interesting cakes that a number of jacket-wearing creatures have started leaving on my doorstep. Come on in."
They look kind of like me.
"Yeah, I can see that. They do, yeah, absolutely." And they motion for you to come into their home.
Question.
Yes.
Are we still covered in pus from
Yeah.
the last couple of fights?
I think that they're both so overcome with an emotion that they maybe have not fully registered the pus smell in a disgust kind of way, but there definitely is like a sense as they're looking at you, the appreciation of you having done something great for their family. Like they see that you are battle scarred and clearly have gone through some stuff today, but neither one of them has chosen to be like, damn, what's that smell?
You're gross.
Trill takes off her wig of holding and pulls some cobwebs out of it.
This thing gets really confused trying to figure out what to do with his plate boots, like trying to like wipe his feet and like looking at the door sill, like, do I step in? Do I not step in?
Amnala sees this and she's like, don't be silly. Come on in.
All right, thank you.
And as you step on the hardwood floors of the Menhemez Manor, there's just like gunk oozing off of your feet onto the floor.
Yeah.
As you come into the house, Amnala points at Osif to get him to bring you some treats, and he brings you like a tray with snooks. And Zoe, is there any other specific cake that you think might be on this, or do you think these are Trill cakes? Are there any new kobold treats that may have worked their way into the Menhemez home?
Ooh.
There are. They are called. Isn't there some like fire and ice situation happening now?
They're using.
There's a. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, there's a new option available at the old kobold cake shop. It's amazing that I threw you like a curveball and you were like, "Here's a curveball," right back at you.
Nothing but kobold.
Fire and iceberg.
Fire and iceberg,
that's
a delicious cold and hot immunity granting treat. We'll get into the specifics of that some other time. But it's a really nice assortment of treats for you. They're ready for company when you come in.
Oh, this is nice.
I like the idea that all the Trill cakes have been updated to have the wig of holding in them. Like they're really the
Surprisingly
bakers.
shiny.
The bakers have the latest and greatest on what Trill is up to.
Yeah, it's like
She's got a viral following. What can we say?
imagine how frenzied the Kobold Kitchen must have been at the moment when they realized that she had changed her look and that their cakes were empty.
Right. Whoever does the frosting has just been like hours and hours in the lab trying to get the wig of holding right.
Do you ever see those videos of people making those cakes, sort of like the galaxy cakes, where essentially like the icing is a
mirror
pour
finish.
over, and so like
sure.
and it makes that like glossy, multicolored, perfectly like round cake. I imagine they did that for Trill's new do.
Well, that sounds delicious.
Every single one.
But as you come inside, and Osif brings you this tray of cakes, Amnala makes some small talk with you. The other kids, Doriani's younger siblings, are here. Maybe a little more upbeat than they have been, and you've seen them over the last month. They're playing, they're frolicking. A ray of midday summer sun is coming through the window. Perhaps like a sign of approval from Saren Ray herself. And after a few minutes of enjoying this bucolic domestic scene, Doriana comes down from upstairs. And she looks almost unrecognizable. Her hair is pulled back in a simple ponytail, and instead of wearing her childhood dressing gown, she's wearing a fashionable green vest over a frilly white shirt, rugged beige pants, and a pair of well-made leather boots, probably inspired by a fascination with Kionan exoticism, almost certainly imported from Absalom. She's wearing elf stuff for
Very
the
stylish.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate
a
that.
look of befuddlement and irritation from.
Well, interest, but Kionan, I was like, we're Googling.
I have a question.
Please.
How many hands does she have?
Well, right now she has one hand tucked into her vest, Napoleon-like, so you can only see one hand.
Ooh. All right, Mag would like to sense appendages.
Yeah, give me a perception check.
Alrighty.
As Mag squints and gazes up the stairs at this fashionable young woman.
I actually would also like to sense motive on Doriana.
Sure. With that perception check, I will apply it to both sensing a hand and sensing a motive.
Thank you.
You detect
Obliged.
no hand and no motive. Just kidding.
And also two
thought you were gonna
hands
make-
and two motives.
I thought you were going to make a sinister motive joke.
Oh,
You
there's
know,
a sinister
sinister,
motive as she tucks her
mm,
left hand.
No?
Just the left down.
I like
There
it. Nice, nice.
Thank you.
Tricky.
You squint up at her, and she eventually does remove her hand from the vest, and you see that her hand looks perfectly normal. The withered
Hey.
sign that you'd seen before has completely gone away. They're two perfectly intact hands, and her motive becomes clear to you as she smiles and runs down the stairs, her sort of childlike enthusiasm for seeing you undermining the more overtly adult way that she's dressing. She runs down the stairs and she falls down to her knees and she throws her arms around Trill. She says, "Trill!" And she holds on to Trill and just starts crying.
Trill throws her littler arms around Doriana's neck and is just absolutely in tears herself. There's these deep tears of relief that finally she was able to actually save someone who needed to be saved.
And I think that feeling comes through loud and clear to Doriana as you share this moment. And after that moment passes, she stands, smiles, looks around the room, and just starts to thank all of you. And you notice a sort of layer of sophistication and poise that's maybe foreign to you from the Doriana that you've known over the last month. She says, "I can't imagine what you've gone through. This motley man who found me in my dreams, I don't know what happened. I'm heading off for more schooling in Absalom next year, and I suppose I was afraid? I was thinking to myself, what's the harm of accepting the comfort of a stranger within a dream? But I suppose I was naive." Osif pipes in, he says, "The children of this town are indeed our Father, please, not now. I just want you to know how badly I feel about what you've had to go through for me." And her eyes sort of narrow for a moment as she looks off into like the middle distance. And she says, "I can tell you have been through so much." And then she gasps as though she's overexerted herself, and she collapses onto the Davenport behind her. And
Always a Davenport.
Emnala rushes to her daughter's aid and says, "Well, you've been through quite a bit as well." She turns back and looks at you. She says, "If you wouldn't mind, we are, of course, deeply appreciative." And she looks towards Osif. "We will, of course, reward the risk you've taken and the warmth and love that you've brought back to our family. But for now, if you wouldn't mind giving us the chance to rest."
How much? Ao says.
And she raises her eyebrows and she says, "I recommend you talk to my husband about that."
Ao sort of like furrows her brow and grabs an extra snook.
Emnal is like, "You can take as many as you want. You don't need to sneak the snook. You can, these are for you. You can have these."
Ao grabs 2 fire and icebergs also and shoves them in her pocket.
You,
Okay, thanks.
You don't need to steal them. They're yours. You can have them. And Doriana remains on the Davenport, smiling at you and waving as Osif leads you back outside the house. He's clearly overwhelmed by emotion, but he manages to say, "Thank all of you again. I would like to offer you all a token of my gratitude, of our gratitude. If you'd like, I can place orders through Galantine delivery for whatever gear or equipment or magical items you would like, befitting heroes of your stature. If you would tell me what you would like at your leisure, then in a week's time, those items will be yours. I have to admit, I don't know much about these sorts of things. I have only the faintest idea of what it will take to accomplish the remaining work within that place, as he nods towards Gauntlet. So please, let me know and we will get it for you.
Like pay for it, you mean? Not just like order it. Like you're going to actually foot the bill?
Yes. We'll get it.
Okay, just check. I'm just okay, I get it. Yeah. All right.
Sorry, can we take a quick pause? I just need to Google PF2E ballista. What are we working with?
What about a trebuchet?
Oh,
Well,
I
each
didn't
of you
get
gets an
one of
item.
those
One of you could you could have a trebuchet / ballista off.
Oh no! Wait, Armat, you get the trebuchet. I'll get whatever kit we need to get it underground.
Perfect. Love it. This can only go good places.
Trebuchet ramp.
Lay siege to them devils.
What this all means is that everyone gets an item or can request an item of 7th level or lower from Absalom. You guys can think on what you want, but it's going to show up in a week. So on Erastus the 6th, which is Toil Day a week from today, you can have whatever level 7 item you want. I know that that's going to take a little bit of looking up, research, thinking, etc. So we'll just retcon that, your characters know exactly what to ask for, and then we'll get it sorted out on mic later. Robin has figured it out.
Yeah, wow, that was quick. All right.
Should I say it? Or wait,
Yeah, sure. Let us know.
Okay. I just came across this thanks to Reddit. The insistent door knocker.
Oh, yeah. No, that's a good one.
Oh.
What does it do,
Once
Robin?
per day.
Yep.
So it's an iron door knocker. And once per day, I can put it on the surface of a door and cause it to attach and remain in place. And then while in place, the door knocker whispers hints to you while you attempt to unlock the door, granting a +1 item bonus to picking a lock. And I believe you can also once per day, you can also, it's a two action command, place the door knocker against any wall and it creates a door.
Yeah.
That feels very
Is it
cool
Mr.
for
Door?
a dungeon crawl.
It creates Mr.
We're actually,
Door.
yes,
There
yes,
it is.
we are
It's
going to
Mr.
make
Door
Mr.
creator.
Door finally happen.
Yeah. It's a great item.
And it's level 6.
in
Seems
our
perfect.
Agents of Edgewatch campaign that we finished up a few months ago. It was an insistent door knocker was used to bypass significant portions of the adventure. So
Yeah.
I look forward to doing the same.
I can't wait to mess with you, Lars.
yeah, no, I invite it. I love it. So so everybody gets an item of 7th level. We'll figure that all out.
You said level 7 or
Level
below?
7 or below.
Cool.
And as Osif is turning back inside to go back to spend more time with his family, Doriana shows up in the door frame. And as you're walking away, she calls out, "Magdaruna, if you have if I could just have one more moment."
Mag pauses.
I've treated you poorly. I know you remember what I'm talking about because I remember it too. You were working at the school. It was a lesson on history and just another lecture about the fall of Thassalon, and something hit the ground and you had dropped a hammer. I felt the judgment of the other children in class directed towards you, and rather than try to help you, I instead took that judgment and used it for myself by mocking you. It was selfish. It was an act that I did to take an honest mistake and use it to prop myself up. And I have no accounting for why I chose to treat you the way that I did, and I have no accounting for the selflessness with which you've risked your life to save mine. And she stops for a second as she starts to turn back inside, and she says, "I've always sort of had a feeling about what people around me are feeling, and it's something that I try to use in a good way, but I don't always do that. The feelings within you are great. I can sense within you great compassion, great thoughtfulness, and also great anger. And I don't want to make that anger go away if you must hold on to it. But I hope to show you in the weeks to come that my appreciation for what you have done for me is real, as is the shame that I feel for mocking you the way that I did. So, if there's anything I can do to help you, please let me know. I'm in your debt, especially.
Mag levels a look at Doriana and gives a moment's space, both to consider her response and because she feels that what Doriana has said deserves a moment's space. Doriana, that might be the best spoken apology I've ever heard in my life. I wouldn't have said that I needed one. And now that I've heard one, I think that perhaps I did. You're forgiven. I need nothing from you else that you can give. If you feel you're able to understand people somehow better or more quickly than others, and perhaps better than they understand themselves, then do nothing further for me, but use that gift to be of help. And Mag pauses again, and then turns and leaves.
And as you walk away, Doriana slips back into the great hall at Menhemez Manor. The door lingers open for a moment as she is embraced by her two parents, as her younger siblings watch on. The door slowly swings shut and closes with a click. Well, friends, that is the end of our series. Just kidding.
That's how it is. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, fair
The
enough.
Belcora thing was a big red herring.
We
Yeah.
always said that we would finish the show and then launch the Patreon.
Fact, actually. I actually imagine at this moment that Trill is so filled with relief and excitement that she takes her wig, she takes her lute, she takes her staff of necromancy. She tosses them all at Istin and starts just doing cartwheels in the grass along the roadside outside of their house. Just tiny little circles of cartwheels everywhere as she's hooping and hollering. We did it! Notice, and some of the black in her hair starts to change back to other more vibrant colors as well. She's still got some black streaks, but I think people might notice that her hair is starting to look a little bit more colorful, a little more sparkly like it used to.
I think Istin catches the lute and the wig, but the staff of necromancy hits him full on in the face.
And all of the bones just clank
I got
together.
one of the skulls too.
So it's the 29th of Serenith. It's a hot day, y'all. There are winds throughout the day that are keeping the temperatures down in the low 90s, but it has been brutally, brutally hot. It's still very uncomfortable. It's around 11:30 in the morning. And what are y'all gonna do now as Trill celebrates cartwheeling on the cliffs above the town?
Good thing she's got fly.
You can't cast fly as a reaction. By the rules, you will hit the ground before you catch up.
Do we have any open side quest stuff?
I mean, I think we've got 2 questions rather than side quests, I guess. So
Okay.
we've got, so within the dungeon, we need to, I guess, get the rest of those, that 5-pointed star
pieces,
to get
yeah.
that door open.
Right.
And then we also still have that question of what the heck happened with
Sarmavdian.
no, well, I guess that's another, but no, what's his face, who is running against the mayor, who we fought and let him go.
Carmen
And
Rajani.
Carmen Rajani.
Carmen Rajani.
If I may refresh your memory and the listener's memory on that, you met a bounty hunter named Tsunami who had been imprisoned by Euravian, the contract devil that runs the prison on the 7th floor of the Abomination vaults. She had been hired by Euravian to bring Carmen back to him, to Euravian. Carmen tricked her, escaped, and she found herself, having not completed the contract, imprisoned in Euravian's prison, and that's where you met her and freed her.
So he's somewhere.
It seems that he is an Absalom. He told you that he would be going to Nidal, into his home country of Nidal, and it sounds as though he never made it there. He never boarded the ship to Nidal, and instead he is drinking and hustling people in the docks district of Absalom.
But we
Make
can
him-
spy on him in his dreams now or something, right?
You have 2 scrolls of dream message. You can send him a message in his dreams.
We can text him. We can dream.
You can text him. And for my money, I think that a dream message is better than a text. I think I'm more likely to respond to a dream message than I am to a text. These days, with all these robocalls coming
Totally.
through, forget about it.
Fair. I mean, as long as you're sure that it's that it's more text than dream. Like you could wake
Right.
up and be like, "That was weird. Someone was trying to text me." You know?
Yeah, or
It
like
might
in
take
your
a couple
dreams,
of
you're
times,
like, you're like, I had a dream. Bernie Sanders came to me and requested more money for his campaign.
I don't know anyone named Karen. What was that about?
I am once again invading your subconscious.
Well done, sir.
Bravo, sir.
Now the episode is done.
So that's that's the bird's eye view on that situation.
I mean, Trill's immediate response is going to be celebratory drinks at Crooks. No, at
Crow's
Casks?
Crow's Casks.
Yeah.
From a Robin perspective, though, I'm still always looking at our map and thinking about all these other places we haven't properly visited yet in town. Like we haven't been to Turtle Manor, we haven't been to the Farmers Guild. Like, is there more story points that are happening at these places that we haven't been to yet?
Well, maybe we could flavor it in. Like we want to go learn more about Carmen Rajani because we need to go track him. So we're going to go meet the people around town who would have known him when he lived here. Or
I wonder, actually, would Churtel, since Rajani was going against Menemez, would he have maybe tried being cahoots with Churtel at some point to try and take over win the election?
There we go.
Because neither of them like the Menemezes.
Is it a parliamentary system, the mayoral election?
Yeah,
the
it's
town?
a 15-house parliament that they have. They really wanted to make sure that
As in there's
nobody had
15
too
houses
much
in
power.
town?
There are 15 houses. Each one of them has a parliament inside of it.
Yes.
The youngest children are drafted into participation in the democratic process. It's an insanely complex bureaucracy of just redundant layers of approvals and submissions.
This is why Otari has 100% literacy.
It's why they have 100% literacy and why there has been no new construction in town for the last 300 years. It's you know that meme of society if, and it shows a futuristic city. Every other town in this setting, aside from Otari, is essentially the future from the film Demolition Man, and Otari is set in.
And meanwhile, 2 minutes walk outside Otari, someone has been overtly building the Galarian equivalent of a
ray.
nuclear bomb, and no one has noticed.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a weird feature of the Pathfinder setting that there's one medieval fantasy town surrounded by hyper-futuristic places, and that just happens to be the one place where anybody goes. But
Man,
Womp womp.
yeah,
it's part of what makes the game different from Dungeons and Dragons, ultimately.
Yeah, and then we embrace that.
Okay, so it sounds like we're hitting spots around town. Where are we going first? Who's going there? Let's just break this out into different little scenes and figure out what's up.
Picture like we go for a drink and then Trill after like a drink or two. She's like, and she like starts going on this whole long conspiracy theory about how she's sure that Carmen Rajani and Chertel have like some cuckoos. I bet he could tell us what's going on with Carmen. Who wants to come with me?
Wait, who's this again?
Rab Chertel is the scion of the third wealthiest family here in Otari. The wealthiest being the mayor's. We've scarcely met Rab, although he did grumpily participate in a pageant last month that I ruined.
Pageant's the right word.
Is this helpful?
Yeah, so Mag is able to tell you that information. That Mag knows that the name of this lumber company is Chertel Timber, and that the company has a reputation of struggling. There are the management is poor, the money is constantly running out, and Rab has a sort of negative reputation around town from the way that he sort of abuses the people that work for him. So, armed with that information, it sounds like you are moving on towards Chertel Manor, the stately home on the west side of town. And as you approach that home, it is roughly 3:30 in the afternoon after a steady diet of drinks at Crow's Casks, and you show up half in the bag at the front steps of Chertel Manor. There are a series of 4 circular steps facing to the southwestern side of the house, and if the family is struggling, it's not something that you would be able to tell from the home itself. There are somewhat garish columns out in the front of the home. The finish of the house is beautifully done. There is a nice brick porch that is behind those columns. There are wrought iron seats surrounding a table, another wrought iron table, and Rab Chertel is sitting at one of those seats at the table as his butler stands nearby. He is fanning himself. Rab is fanning himself with a large bit of parchment as he is wearing like a short-sleeved button-down shirt, sweat soaked all the way through. And he sees the 4 of you approach, and he says, "I'm not interested. I don't want whatever it is you're doing. It's none of my business." He turns around, he motions at Gauntlet looming in the distance. "I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about you aside from the fact that you're in bed with Osif. Frankly, I think you guys are to blame for all of those zombies coming up out of the graveyard. I don't want it. It's too fucking hot today. Leave me alone."
It is pretty hot today, you're right.
Yeah, I know. Please, leave my home.
I imagine Trill starts fanning herself and comes and sits down at the table with him. Uninvited.
Okay, if you're gonna stay, then he motions to the butler and he says, "Jim Thrips, go ahead and get us a couple of drinks.
I'll take a lemonade, actually.
Don't have lemonade. We've got beer. That's what I've been drinking all day. Just bring it on. If they're gonna stay, there's no reason for them to get further dehydrated. And the butler nods and says, "Yes, right," and disappears back into the house. And he says, "So how do I get rid of you? How do I make you leave my home?"
And Ale by now has turned into Norman, I think sort of in the midst of his murmuring and sort of, is he sitting down now?
He's like fanning himself. He's reclining uncomfortably on this wrought iron chair. And he invites you to sit in a number of other uncomfortable looking but fancy looking wrought iron chairs, sitting
My
around
favorite.
this wrought iron table with a glass of beer, like ungainly balanced on top. Like, have you ever eaten at a wrought iron table? It's like,
Oh, yeah. Very
flour
rickety.
curly cues and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And you try to put a glass on it and it tips over. It sucks. It's one of those.
And the
tables.
legs are never level. There's always
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
So what you're saying is you don't want to come have a barbecue in my backyard.
Not until you get a better table, Robin. I have standards.
So Norman sort of sidles over and perches himself on the arm of the chair that he's sitting at, and reaches over and grabs his beer, and he says, "We just want to have a chat."
That's my beer. Winthrips is getting you. I'm sorry, Jim Thrips is getting you a.
Jim Thrips. It's getting a little warm though, Norman says, and drains it back.
Norman,
Just-
we're not here to like cause a problem. Rab, we just realized we haven't spent any proper time getting to know you, and that's on us. And we are here to be the saviors of Otari. And how can we really help this town if we haven't built a relationship with one of its most important sons?
Most
you.
important, Norman chimes in the background.
So this sounds to me. Let's roll some dice. This sounds to me like a make an impression with some aid from Norman. I'll let you roll a thievery if you want to for stealing his warm beer. And I'll let you roll any other skill that you tell me is the skill that you're doing to aid, if that's what we're doing.
How about
here.
deception?
Absolutely. Who am I to say no to a deception check from Norman?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get that aid first. How did Norman do on aiding Trill's make an impression with deception?
True to form, that's a 34 from Norman.
Okay, that's a critical success. And how did that? Which means we get a +2 to Trill's check. How did Trill's check do?
And Trill did pretty well with her one roll of the day and ended up with a 32. Add 2, that makes it 34.
Okay.
Hey.
His will DC is a 19, which means that you have critically succeeded. And he just slaps his knees and he's like, I gotta tell you, at first I was kind of mad when you drank my beer, but I was like, but that beer's disgusting. It's been out here in 90-degree heat for so long, so I figured you were doing me a favor. And then you come in here and you're telling me you guys are a riot. I had no idea. No idea.
Party with Robert Chow.
I thought you were a bunch of stuck-up, weird Menhemez ass. And Jim Thrips comes through with the beer, and Rab's like, let's keep it going. Let's keep this whole thing going, please. Jim Thrips, let's go. And Jim Thrips is like, and disappears back inside the house.
Come on, old Jimmy.
You guys are hilarious. Okay, I get it. I get it. So what can I do for you? Like, what can I do for you?
What can we do for you?
Just hang out and keep partying. This is great.
And while he's talking, Norman, everyone's got a new beer, but rather than pick up the one that Jim Thrips has set next to Norman, he reaches over and takes his beer again.
I got to try that with you sometime. Maybe I'll get Jim Thrips to bring you a couple beers and I'll take one from you, and then he goes up for a high five with Norman.
And Norman like does the aggressive high five that leaves like just your palms, like it doesn't appear hostile, but just like your palm stings a little bit extra.
And he's like,
Nice.
"Oh, that's a hell of a greeting you give there. Wow." He says, "No, but seriously, you must have come around my place for some reason. What do you need?"
No, it's like you and Mag, like you guys have lived here your whole life, so but very different types of lives, I imagine. What's it been like growing? You spent your whole life here in Otari, right?
Yeah, this dump. Yeah, of course.
So like, what's it been like? You know, being here, being from this family that's been here for so long, but knowing the the Menemezes and the why am I forgetting his name again?
Inkleholtz.
Alamora Inkelholtz?
No, not Inkleholtz.
Rajani. Then the Rajanis. Like, there's so much history to this town. And I feel like, as someone fairly new, I mean, not as new as this guy, you've met Istin, right? Istin?
No, I haven't met Istin. Who's the quiet,
Well,
handsome
this
fella?
is Istin. You won't believe this. You remember Haplo?
No.
Haplo, that brilliant old elf who lived around here and was an expert on the Rose Guard history?
No.
Oh, well,
the old
weren't
guy.
you at his funeral?
I go to a lot of funerals, lady.
Well, this is his son.
Oh.
And I think Haplo has Trill's wig on now. And it's like, hello.
Istin? Are you forgetting who you are
Haplo
now,
has
too?
Trill's wig on. You dug him out of
Oh,
the ground
yeah.
again
Yeah.
and put the wig on his head?
I went real
Definitely
dark with that
a
joke.
process.
It's definitely sort of a Ed Gein psycho thing. Yeah. No. Very nice to meet you. Thank you for the beer.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, so living in a place like I guess there's a fair amount of history if you consider getting how homes blown up by kobolds every once in a while, having the dead raised from the graveyard from time to time.
Not our fault.
Just the smell of fish constantly.
Also not our fault.
I wasn't blaming you for anything. I was answering your question about what it's like living in this place.
Just, making sure we're copacetic.
No, I get it. Up top, and he gives you a high five. So
Very low five.
Istin tosses the snook he sat on that was releasing fish smell away.
But living in this place, the Menhemezes, they're awful. They do everything they can do to stop anybody who tries to do anything from getting ahead, and they take unfair advantage of the lumberyard. They use the giant's wheel too much. They send spies around to make sure that the people working for you are mad at you all the time. The Menhemezes also, they try to build a new home next to yours, blocking your view of the waterfront as he motions towards a partially blocked view of the waterfront.
That's frustrating.
Yeah, so that's nothing great. I don't like them, and I don't think it's good to be in town with them, and someday they'll all see what I'm capable of just as soon as I stop getting ripped off and screwed around and messed up by all these ball droppers around here. Everyone's just dropping the ball constantly. I'm counting on people for doing good work, and everyone always fumbles it at the 1 yard line, leaving we have American football in this world.
Yeah.
Leaving me holding the bag, and it's been a lifetime of regrets. I'm sorry, this is the beer talking. It's been a lifetime of regrets, resentments, and something else. So there you go.
Rage.
There it is, rage.
Recriminations.
Recriminations. What does that word mean?
It means rage.
Oh,
Rage, says
yeah,
Mag.
recriminations. And then the Rajanis, Carmen, I bankrolled a number of his campaigns. He never managed to get anything off the ground. That's number one ball dropper right there. Number one choke artist, Carmen Rajani, never manages to get anything done. leaving me in the lurch. That's why I'm stuck here at this terrible house, as he motions at his beautiful home behind him.
Osef Nosef, that was his idea, right?
Well, no, that is actually an interesting point. I came up with Osef Nosef.
Oh, it's brilliant. We loved it.
Right? Because it makes sense, because his name is Osef, right? And should you vote for him? No. So I took those two ideas. Thank you. And you slam them together. Osef Nosef.
Sorry, brief diversion. Lars, forgive me.
Sure.
Recently here in Richmond, there was a ballot initiative about whether or not there should be permission given to build a casino in a particular part of the city. And the people who were against the building of the casino, who distributed many yard signs encouraging people not to vote to allow the casino, made a whole bunch of yard signs that said, "No casino, no."
Why not just casino?
Thank you.
That's
the point of the story.
Yeah.
It was right there.
It's just
literally right
sitting right there. And they said, should we do the good idea? Casino-sif. We should just leave it on the... Anyway, just had to... Sometimes life imitates art, is my point.
Life is art. Art is life.
Wait, so were they pro-casino or anti-casino? I'm actually still confused.
That's the thing.
The anti-casino people hired Rab Churchill to do the copywriting for their sign.
That's where he is, Richmond.
But yeah, Rab Churchill seems to have no love lost for Carmen Rajani. His relationship with Carmen Rajani seems to have been purely instrumental. Like he just wanted to use Rajani to knock Menhemez down a peg.
So you didn't hear anything about what happened after he left?
Not really. He started the fire down at the library and stole the sword. I knew that you were mixed up in that somehow. I was happy for him to have the sword after Menhemez used it as part of his campaign and wound up ultimately knocking Rajani out of the race. So I didn't mind him taking the sword, but after he lit the thing on fire, that's the last I ever heard from him. To be honest, I assumed he probably ran afoul of somebody who shouldn't have in a bar somewhere, or just wound up drinking himself to death.
Well, the first one seems to be right so far.
So far, he's been stabbed by a guy?
Well, certainly it seems that he's run afoul of someone. So we're trying to figure out where he ended up.
Oh, well, I don't know much about
find him.
I don't know much about that.
Can Trill sense like if he's telling the truth?
Yeah, you don't get any sense that he's lying to you.
Okay.
How does he feel about the dew point?
Dew point's been through the roof these days, hasn't it? He
so
wipes his
humid.
hand across his forehead, which is covered with sweat, and he's like, "Look at all this dew."
Well, where else were we thinking of popping into in town?
I think at some point Norman gets bored with all this and has had, it's a Hefeweizen. You can only have so many of them.
Oh my God.
He's feeling a little bloated.
Tell me about
So
it.
he sneaks off at some point to go check in on the kobolds.
Yeah, so let's say that that's around... It's like right as the sun is starting to drop. It's around 7:30 at night.
Sure.
And there's like a little bit of a hearth going in the wreckage of the Thirsty Llama, where the kobolds have set up their bakery. Sorry, the Thirsty Alpaca. Sorry, not a llama. It was an alpaca.
They're cousins. It's okay.
Diemzumkork and Kutzun have been joined by... You notice that there aren't just 2 kobolds here. There are actually 5 kobolds working in the bakery.
Yang yang bonobo! This is Norman coming in. Still not understanding that they don't speak Undercommon.
Right. Diemzumkork walks up and sort of holds her hands together and she says, "Nyang nyang bonabo." Did I say it right? Did I say
Whoa.
the words correctly?
That was so rude.
That was. Ew.
Norman walks out, never to speak to them again.
Escalating.
No, he's buzzed. He's having a great time. So, yeah, look at you. Who's this? Who's this? He's going over. He's shaking hands with the other kobolds.
The other kobolds sort of look at you warily, and DM Zimkork turns back to them and says, No, it is okay. She is. Sorry, whose form are you right now?
Still Norman right now.
He is a friend, and he is not going to hurt us. He is the one who has helped inspire us and invest funds, and he is good people. It is okay.
Did you get the buy-in fee from them? I mean, this isn't going to be a pyramid if you don't start collecting the fees from the people the next tier up who are going to go out in town. Anyways, who are y'all? It's lovely to meet you.
DM Zimkork is like, I have so far not managed to find the business acumen necessary to fully implement the multiple levels of marketing that you have suggested that I do. We will get to it. I just, frankly, it is at times too. It's a little. It seems scummy. I'm sorry. It seems just
For
a
sure.
little sleazy.
Yes, that's the. Well, we'll get there. We'll get there. One layer at a time. Those trill cakes are selling like hotcakes. I mean,
Hotcakes sound like troll cakes.
selling like trill cakes.
Those trill cakes are selling like trill cakes.
DM Zimkork answers, okay, well, perhaps these are the remaining 3 members of the top of this particular pyramid as you have described to us. I would like to introduce you to Agra, Duglo, and Tudre. They actually came from Absalom. They met a man who purchased a wig from them, and they followed him to this town hoping to rob him for money. But then they got here and discovered our operation, and we all determined together that perhaps baking and cooperation would be a better way to make our fortune.
And Istin, leaning on his staff because he's pretty sauced
Is
up.
there?
Oh God, that's him! And the 3 of them hide and duck behind an oven.
I wonder who they're talking about, that poor sod.
Norman winks at the kobolds. Well, okay. So you guys you're starting to think big. I got an idea for you. I mean, you need more places to sell? Do you have extra goods?
It's interesting that you mention that. We found a little bit of success selling some new items that I am excited to tell you more about, if I may.
Please.
And he sniffs the air. Kudson steps forward and sniffs the air for a moment and says, I can tell that you have already enjoyed some of our fire and iceberg already.
Here, use that torch on me. Watch what it does.
And Agra runs forward to the torch and attempts to light you on fire.
Right, a little creme brulee torch, but just nothing happens.
This is turning into the Q scene from every James Bond movie. That I feel like that's where we're kind of
Always my favorite scene.
going.
Right. Yes.
Yep.
I know these look like cufflinks.
He says, there are a few new items. You've already obviously enjoyed the fire and iceberg, which I will tell you is a alchemical consumable that gives you a resistance to cold and fire damage, which is potentially could be useful if you're going into a place filled with devils. Who's to say? And we also have this delightful new stew that we are serving. And this is a tomato-based stew that is filled with wine and something called pesh, which is a hallucinatory drug.
I thought that was illegal here.
Well, there's not a lot about what we're doing here that's exactly legal to be certain, but if you enjoy this, you'll be able to speak a language, a new language, and it will help your negotiations with people land more smoothly. We've actually found it quite helpful in selling the goods that we produce here at the Thirsty Alpaca. So, and so basically,
Yang
this is a
yang
thing.
bonobo, says Norman wisely. Again, not understanding that they don't understand him.
We speak. It's draconic. It's draconic that we speak. And Agro steps forward and like puts his little claws over Kutsun's mouth to quiet him down. But you can speak and understand a single language for an hour. This must be a language that the stew's cook could speak and understand, chosen at the time of the stew's creation. So the fact that these are made by kobolds potentially limits the usefulness of them.
Draconic.
Draconic.
They're draconic.
So you could speak to a dragon if you'd like to, and it also gives you a +2 item bonus to diplomacy checks made in that language for that time that this item is in effect.
So we can talk to and also slightly better charm a dragon. That's something.
It's something.
You hungry, bud? You're looking a little tipply over there. Here, have some stew. And Norman just hands Istin a bowl of the stew.
Oh, don't mind if I do. Thank you.
I like the idea that he burps and fire comes out because he's, speaking Draconic.
Kutsun continues, these have already hit the market and they're doing relatively well. It's a higher sticker price, but they're making their money back for sure. Things are looking up for our business.
That's so exciting, bud. Well, anyways, if you're looking for somewhere new to sell these, we found the greatest bar. And I have to say, their food wasn't great. Their drinks were okay. The music was eerily on point. But it's down in the Gauntlet. I mean, you guys have tunnels, right? You're going in and out?
Well, we have not taken tunnels to the Gauntlet exactly. The things that tend to lurk around there are quite terrifying, to be sure, but we can get there. Are you suggesting that we should relocate our business there?
Let's think of it as a franchise. This is the heart of the operation, and that's like a finger or a toe.
A lower part of a pyramid.
Well, yeah, just a little further down the body.
And Agra, one of the 3 kobolds that followed Istin back from Absalom, chimes in and says, "It is somewhat crowded here in this particular facility. Perhaps the 3 of us could move into that newly... What's the exact way of describing it? There's a growth opportunity there, it sounds like."
That's right. We met some of the people they were going to serve as food and let them go. So I just don't think they've got enough to give the clientele. I think if you guys come in with this soup and this fun fire and ice cake and these trill cakes, I mean, they hate trills, so they'd love to eat those.
Wait, what?
Anyways, I'll mention it the next time we're over there. But you guys check it out.
And they seem like totally happy to go with you on this plan. Like this seems like a good idea. The 3 new kobolds start whispering back and forth between each other, and they're like, perhaps we could get somebody who speaks languages that are more widely spoken to cook the stew this time, instead of us just speaking Draconic to each other and impressing ourselves over and over again. And like, Tudre and Douglo both agree and say, this is perhaps the next step in our plan. And Kutsun and Diemzumkork hold hands together and then both want to hold one of Norman's hand and say, this is a circle of prosperity and of commerce. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And they like dance around with you in a circle.
Right. And yeah. I imagine Istin is actually in the center of this circle, but sort of unaware of that fact.
Probably, yeah. Are we dancing now?
Well, guys, this has been a lot of fun. We're gonna head out, but I'll check in there. You guys check in there, and maybe I'll see you over there.
Thank you for the opportunity. I look forward to donating a certain percentage of our income to your income, and so on and so on.
That's right. That's right. We're figuring this out.
That's
Love you
how
guys.
you do it.
Yang yang.
Bone, is it Bonobo? I never learned the language. Is it bonobo? Do we say bonobo back?
And under her breath, Mag whispers, "Such an easy language to learn."
So this night of silliness ends, and
What would you say was silly about that?
oh yeah, which part of this? So you get some additional intel from Rab Chertel. You get access to these new dishes from the Kobold Bakery. You start potentially a new franchise of the Kobold Bakery at the Warped Brew Tavern on the 6th floor of the Abomination Vaults, if they can sort things out with the remaining Morlocks. And you settle in for the night.
Mm-hmm. If Mag were to try to make a copy of the battle map and battle plans that we recovered from the dungeon, so she would be able to, for example, circulate it to other individuals in town, or to post it publicly in town while still retaining the original. Is that something she would... Mag has not been drinking.
Yeah, I think that that's fine. I think that these, like this sounds like something that's relatively simple to do. It's a map of the region. If you have paper and you have the ability to put marks on that paper, you could pretty easily, I think, make a facsimile for sure.
All right. Well, then let's also say that at some point in the evening after the party adjourns, Mag makes a couple of copies of these maps and battle plans, and she goes around town and she slips one each under the door of Manhemis Manor and Inkelholtz Manor and Chertel Manor. And she nails one to the door of the town garrison. And let's see, what would be sort of the most public sort of gathering place in the middle of town? Is it down by the waterfront at the fishery? Is it at the Giant's Wheel? Is it in the market?
I think it's probably at the fishery. I think that makes a lot of sense. That's sort of like a large social gathering area.
And maybe in each place there's like she's put a short note, recovered in Gauntlight Keep.
Got it. So Mag spends the evening doing that, sort of taking this information that she's gathered and trying to distribute it to the powerful people in town, to the police or to the town guard, and also to anybody who's just interested in knowing what's happening.
Yeah.
Guerrilla information.
Yeah, and the final place she puts it is on the door, the front main door of the Dawnflower Library, before slipping inside and sleeping in her quarters there.
So after Mag distributes this all this material, you head off to bed and you awaken the next morning. It's a day of drinking. I think you're probably getting started a little bit later than you may typically. The sun is going to rise at about 5 o'clock in the morning, but it's maybe closer to 9 when you meet up. Does it make sense to meet up at the usual spot at the bridge in front of Crook's Nook?
Yeah.
And the four of you convene, sharing another breakfast as the Giant's Wheel starts spinning again. Another day of industry here in Otari. Let me tell you about the weather.
Of course.
It's a comfortable day today. It's going to be a high of 78. Everyone's outside. People are enjoying the day out around the town. It is a breezy summer day. And after the four of you get the chance to convene and prepare to return back to Gauntlet, you're interrupted by a screaming sound, like a, "Hey, you, stay there! Everybody, you stop it!" And you see Lardus Longsaddle marching towards the group, his face deep red, angrier than he's ever been, holding one of these maps that Mag has just distributed into the Otari garrison. He looks at Mag and he says, "You have got to be the dumbest person I have ever met in my entire life." And he screams and he's just fuming. And we'll pick up from there next time.
I love that we got Lardis back. Oh, David's raging.
Roots of Ruin is a Tabletop Gold production produced under the Paizo Incorporated Community Use Policy, using trademarks and copyrights owned by Paizo that are covered under that policy. Paizo does not recognize, endorse, or sponsor this project in any way, and we are expressly prohibited from charging you to use or access this content. For more information about Paizo Inc. and Paizo products, visit paizo.com. All original characters and content in the Roots of Ruin are the property of Tabletop Gold, and all rights are reserved. We at Tabletop Gold would love to hear from you. On our website, tabletopgold.com, you can learn more about us and our shows, pick up great merch, and connect to the best online community in all of podcasting. Thanks for listening.